The Silk Road, often regarded as one of the most significant arteries of global exchange in human history, was not merely a path where silk was traded. Instead, it was a sprawling, complex network of overland and maritime routes that for more than a millennium connected the vast, disparate lands stretching from the heart of East Asia to the shores of the Mediterranean. This legendary route stitched together myriad cultures, empires, religions, and economies, fostering a flow of goods and ideas that profoundly shaped the course of civilizations. Long before the age of airplanes, trains, or digital communication, the Silk Road was the lifeline of intercontinental interaction. It was the medium through which commodities that today might seem mundane, silk, spices, tea, precious metals, horses, traveled thousands of miles, touching countless hands and shaping the daily lives and economies of people in distant lands. But beyond the tangible merchandise, it was also a vector for the intangible. Religious beliefs, artistic styles, scientific knowledge, and even diseases moved along these routes, spreading with consequences as vast as the distances traveled. What made the Silk Road remarkable was its scale, duration, and cultural diversity. It endured for more than a millennium, beginning in the 2nd century BCE during the Han Dynasty's expansionist endeavors and continuing until the rise of maritime trade in the late medieval period. The Silk Road was not a single road, but a complicated mesh of interconnected pathways that crossed deserts, mountain ranges, rivers, and seas. This network linked the sprawling Chinese empires with the kingdoms of Central Asia, the Persian and Islamic worlds, and the great cities of Europe and Africa. The origins of the Silk Road are rooted in geopolitical ambition and necessity. The Han emperors sought to secure their western frontiers and established diplomatic ties with distant peoples who might serve as allies or trading partners. Envoys like Zhang Qian journeyed into unknown lands, paving the way for the gradual establishment of formal and informal trade links. These routes gradually expanded, evolving from diplomatic missions and nomadic trails into thriving commercial arteries. Central to the Silk Road's vitality were the cities and oasis towns that served as hubs of trade, culture, and innovation. Places like Chang'an, Samarkand, Kashgar, Baghdad, and Constantinople became melting pots of language, religion, and commerce, where merchants from far-flung regions exchanged goods and ideas. The diversity of travelers was staggering. Persian and Sogdian merchants, Arab traders, Chinese envoys, Indian pilgrims, and nomadic tribes, among others, each contributed to the dynamic intercultural exchanges. The Silk Road was a world of complexity and contradiction. It was a place where luxury and hardship coexisted. Merchants faced extreme dangers, from the burning sands of the Taklamakan Desert to the icy heights of the Pamir Mountains and the threat of bandits along the way. Yet the promise of profit, prestige, and discovery drove them onward. The roads also fostered the spread of some of the world's major religions. Buddhism traveled from India to China, Christianity and Islam expanded eastward, and philosophies mingled and evolved. This tale seeks to explore the Silk Road in its full complexity. It will trace the development of the routes, describe the rich tapestry of goods and cultures, and illuminate the lives of the people who made this network possible. It will examine how the Silk Road operated, from the caravans and camel trains to the financial innovations that allowed merchants to thrive over great distances. It will also confront the challenges and risks faced by travelers, the eventual decline of the routes in the face of changing political and economic realities, and the Silk Road's enduring legacy in today's interconnected world. To fully grasp the Silk Road's significance is to appreciate how trade and travel have long been engines of cultural exchange and historical transformation. Its story challenges notions of isolated civilizations and highlights instead the deep, centuries-long connections that have linked humanity. Even in an era dominated by digital networks and global commerce, the Silk Road remains a powerful symbol of connectivity, a testament to the human spirit's unending quest for exchange, understanding, and innovation. The origins of the Silk Road stretch back over 2 millennia, emerging from a complex confluence of geopolitical strategy, diplomatic missions, and commercial ambitions during the Han Dynasty of ancient China. It was under the reign of Emperor Wu, who ruled from 141 to 187 BCE, that the Silk Road began to take shape as an extensive network of trade routes connecting the East with the vast and varied lands to the West. The foundation of this transcontinental web was rooted in both military necessity and economic opportunity, a duality that drove the Han rulers to extend their reach beyond the familiar confines of the Middle Kingdom. During this period, the Chinese Empire faced a formidable adversary in the nomadic Xiongnu tribes who inhabited the expansive steppes to the north and west. These groups posed constant threats to the security and stability of the Han borders, disrupting trade and raiding frontier settlements. In response, Emperor Wu sought to forge alliances with distant peoples who could counterbalance the Xiongnu's power and open new avenues for trade and influence. This strategic pivot toward the West was both a defensive measure and a commercial gamble that would have far-reaching consequences. The pivotal figure in the early history of the Silk Road was Zhang Qian, a diplomat and explorer whose journeys across Central Asia opened the first direct contacts between China and the peoples of the West. In 138 BCE, Zhang was dispatched on a mission to seek allies among the Yuezhi, a powerful nomadic tribe displaced by the Xiongnu and settled in the region that now corresponds roughly to modern-day Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. Although Zhang's mission to secure an alliance ultimately failed, his travels provided invaluable intelligence about the cultures, economies, and geography of Central Asia. Zhang's reports described a rich and interconnected world beyond China's borders, filled with prosperous kingdoms, bustling markets, and diverse peoples. He noted the presence of goods such as jade, horses, and precious metals, and observed the existence of complex trade networks linking these regions to India, Persia, and even the distant Mediterranean. His findings convinced Emperor Wu that establishing secure trade routes through these territories was both feasible and desirable. These initial diplomatic endeavors laid the groundwork for the development of what would later be known as the Silk Road. The Han Dynasty began to invest in infrastructure, building roads and outposts that extended into the western regions. Military garrisons were established to protect caravans and secure passage through hostile areas. The construction of the Great Wall, while primarily aimed at defense, also marked the limits of direct Chinese control and facilitated the regulation of trade and movement along the frontier. The geography of this emerging network was as challenging as it was vast. The Silk Road routes traversed some of the most formidable landscapes on Earth. Travelers faced the daunting expanse of the Taklamakan Desert, a sea of shifting sands that earned the ominous reputation as the Desert of Death. To circumvent this inhospitable terrain, caravan routes split around its edges, passing through a chain of fertile oases where water and shelter were available. These oases became critical hubs of commerce and culture, their survival dependent on the delicate balance of desert and life. Beyond the desert, caravans had to navigate the high mountain passes of the Pamirs and Tian Shan ranges. These towering peaks, often snow-capped and treacherous, demanded exceptional endurance from both humans and animals. The mountain passes were narrow and perilous, vulnerable to sudden storms and avalanches. Yet they provided vital links between Central Asia and the Indian subcontinent, as well as connections to Persia and the Middle East. The Silk Road was not a single path, but a network of routes that shifted and expanded over time, responding to political changes and economic opportunities. Some routes passed through the northern steppes, frequented by nomadic tribes who both traded and raided. Others veered southward, following river valleys and mountain corridors toward the fertile lands of India and Iran. Over centuries, this patchwork of routes grew in complexity and reach. Along these routes, early caravanserais, fortified inns designed to protect merchants and their animals, began to emerge. These outposts provided crucial support for traders, offering food, water, shelter, and security. The caravanserai became a symbol of the Silk Road's institutionalization, reflecting the growing importance of trade and travel to the empires and local powers that controlled these regions. The importance of the Silk Road soon extended beyond economics. It became a channel for cultural and religious exchange, a conduit for ideas and philosophies that traveled alongside goods. Buddhism, which had originated in the Indian subcontinent centuries earlier, began to make its way into Central Asia and eventually China through the Silk Road. Monks and missionaries accompanied caravans, establishing monasteries at key stops and translating sacred texts. This spiritual exchange was as transformative as the trade in silk and spices, reshaping societies across Eurasia. The Han Dynasty's embrace of the Silk Road marked a new era in Chinese history and set a precedent for future empires. The routes facilitated the influx of foreign goods and ideas into China, stimulating the economy and enriching Chinese culture. At the same time, Chinese products, technologies, and philosophies spread westward, influencing distant civilizations. The political landscape of Central Asia was equally crucial in shaping the Silk Road's early development. Various kingdoms and nomadic confederations controlled sections of the trade routes, each demanding tribute or tolls from passing caravans. The Sogdians, an Iranian-speaking people based around the region of Samarkand, rose to prominence as dominant middlemen and facilitators of Silk Road trade during this period. Their extensive merchant networks, linguistic skills, and cultural adaptability made them indispensable to the smooth functioning of the transcontinental exchange. The rise of empires, such as the Parthian and later the Sasanian dynasties in Persia, created powerful states that linked the East and West. These empires not only controlled vast territories along the Silk Road, but also fostered urban development, enabling cities to flourish as centers of commerce, administration, and culture. The wealth generated by Silk Road trade fueled the growth of cities like Ctesiphon, the Sasanian capital, and Merv, a key oasis city on the route. On the western terminus of the Silk Road lay the remnants of the Hellenistic world, the successor states of Alexander the Great's conquests. These realms connected Central Asia to the Mediterranean and the Roman Empire, the westernmost major market for Silk Road goods. Roman demand for silk and other luxury products fueled trade across these vast distances, illustrating the truly global nature of the network. The initial phases of the Silk Road's development were thus characterized by a blend of military strategy, diplomatic outreach, and entrepreneurial initiative. It was a world in which empires and nomads, merchants and monks, soldiers and scholars all played vital roles in weaving together a complex system of trade and communication. The establishment of the Silk Road network did not happen overnight. It was a gradual process, one that unfolded over decades and centuries. The routes shifted as political fortunes changed, and the Silk Road was always a dynamic, evolving system. Yet from its earliest beginnings under the Han Dynasty, the Silk Road laid the foundations for an interconnected Eurasian world whose legacies continue to resonate today. The Silk Road was not a singular pathway, but a sprawling, dynamic web of trade routes that evolved and expanded over centuries, connecting the heartlands of East Asia with the distant shores of the Mediterranean and beyond. To truly understand the Silk Road, it is essential to explore the geography that shaped it. Its vast deserts, towering mountain ranges, fertile oases, and bustling cities, and to trace the myriad paths traders, pilgrims, and envoys traversed as they wove together civilizations separated by thousands of miles. The complexity and scale of the Silk Road's geography were defining features of this ancient network. Spanning roughly 4,000 miles, 6,400 kilometers east to west, the routes passed through some of the world's most formidable natural barriers. Its travelers faced challenges posed by blistering deserts, treacherous mountain passes, and vast steppes. Yet these obstacles were not merely physical. The Silk Road's geography also imposed logistical, political, and cultural hurdles that shaped the nature of the interactions between peoples and empires. At the eastern terminus of the Silk Road lay the ancient Chinese capital of Chang'an, known today as Xi'an. Chang'an was one of the largest and most cosmopolitan cities of the ancient world, a thriving hub of imperial power, commerce, and culture. It served as the gateway through which goods and ideas began their long westward journey. From Chang'an, traders and caravans set out along multiple routes, each designed to navigate the challenges of the geography ahead. The heart of the Silk Road network branched into two primary overland corridors that skirted the formidable Taklamakan Desert in what is now the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China. This desert, often called the Sea of Death, is one of the most inhospitable regions on the planet, with shifting sand dunes, extreme temperatures, and scarce water sources. Instead of crossing the desert directly, a journey nearly impossible for laden caravans, the trade routes skirted its northern and southern edges, passing through a series of fertile oases. The northern route passed through cities such as Turpan and Hami, before reaching the key trading center of Kashgar, which served as a crucial juncture for travelers and goods. The southern route passed through oasis towns such as Khotan, famed for its jade, before also converging at Kashgar. These oasis cities were not only vital for the replenishment of food and water, but also developed into vibrant centers of cultural exchange, where merchants from diverse backgrounds mingled. Beyond Kashgar, the routes extended into Central Asia proper, a vast expanse that included the regions of modern-day Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. Central Asia's geography is defined by formidable mountain ranges, including the Tian Shan and the Pamirs, often referred to as the roof of the world, due to their dizzying heights. These mountains presented natural barriers, but also acted as conduits, with passes like the Pamir Knot and the Alai Valley, providing routes that connected Central Asia with the Indian subcontinent, Iran, and beyond. Among the most important cities in Central Asia was Samarkand, a thriving metropolis that emerged as a major Silk Road hub. Situated on the fertile Zeravshan River Valley, Samarkand benefited from its position at the crossroads of routes that linked China, Persia, and the Mediterranean. The city became a melting pot of ethnicities, languages, and religions, showcasing the Silk Road's role as a cultural as well as commercial bridge. Other key Central Asian cities included Bukhara and Merv, both of which grew wealthy from their strategic locations along caravan routes. These cities provided services to travelers, caravanserai, markets, artisans, and religious institutions, and acted as nodes where goods were stored, traded, and redistributed. As the routes extended westward, they entered the Iranian Plateau, a region dominated by Persian empires and known for its rugged mountains and fertile plains. The Zagros Mountains formed a natural barrier between Central Asia and the Mesopotamian basin, but mountain passes, such as the Kermanshah Gap, allowed caravans to descend into the plains that housed the great cities of ancient Persia. The city of Nishapur in northeastern Iran, for example, became a vital Silk Road center, famous for its production of ceramics and textiles. Further west, the capital of the Sasanian Empire, Ctesiphon, near modern Baghdad, was an economic and cultural powerhouse that controlled trade through Mesopotamia. The region's fertile soil and network of rivers supported large urban populations and vibrant markets that fed the trade network. West of Persia, the Silk Road passed through Anatolia, modern Turkey, linking to the great Byzantine capital of Constantinople, now Istanbul. Constantinople's strategic position at the crossroads of Europe and Asia allowed it to control and tax goods entering the Mediterranean, making it an indispensable link in the Silk Road chain. Along the Mediterranean coast, ports such as Antioch and Tyre served as final destinations or transshipment points where overland goods were loaded onto ships bound for markets in Europe and North Africa. The Mediterranean Sea itself was an extension of the Silk Road network, facilitating the flow of goods and ideas between continents. The Silk Road was not confined to land. The maritime Silk Road complemented overland routes, linking Chinese ports such as Guangzhou and Quanzhou with South Asian, Arabian, and East African ports. Ships harnessed the monsoon winds of the Indian Ocean to sail vast distances, carrying porcelain, silk, spices, and precious metals. These maritime routes extended the reach of the Silk Road and introduced a seaborne dimension to intercontinental trade. The diversity of landscapes traversed by the Silk Road meant that the experience of travel varied dramatically. Caravanners moving through the deserts had to prepare for extreme heat during the day and bitter cold at night, navigating vast stretches without water or shelter. In the mountains, thin air and treacherous paths slowed progress and increased the risk of accidents. Yet these regions also offered resources. Mountain passes provided strategic military control, and desert oases offered precious respite and commerce. Trade routes shifted in response to environmental changes and political developments. The rise and fall of empires affected which paths were safe or profitable. When certain passes or cities became unsafe due to war or banditry, traders adapted by rerouting, sometimes taking longer but safer paths. The Mongol Empire, which unified much of Central Asia in the 13th century, revitalized the Silk Road by securing these routes under a single authority, dramatically increasing safety and fostering an era of unprecedented trade. Caravans were typically spaced at intervals along the Silk Road, moving in stages from one oasis or city to the next. The presence of caravanserai, fortified inns where travelers could rest, repair equipment, and exchange information, was critical to the network's success. These establishments were more than mere waypoints. They served as social and economic hubs that sustained the flow of goods and ideas. They offered merchants opportunities to negotiate deals, exchange news, and forge alliances. In addition to these logistical elements, the Silk Road's geography contributed to the mingling of cultures. The concentration of travelers and merchants in oasis cities and mountain passes brought together diverse languages, customs, and religions. It is in these places that the Silk Road truly earned its reputation as a conduit for cultural diffusion, where Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Zoroastrianism, and other faiths coexisted and interacted. The scale and complexity of the Silk Road's routes demonstrate how human ingenuity overcame daunting natural barriers to build one of history's greatest networks of trade and communication. Geography was not an insurmountable obstacle, but a stage on which the drama of intercontinental exchange played out for centuries. The Silk Road was thus a living landscape, constantly changing and adapting as empires waxed and waned, technologies advanced, and cultures intertwined. Understanding the geography of the Silk Road provides essential insight into how this vast and diverse network functioned and endured over time. The Silk Road was named for one of its most famous commodities, silk. This lustrous fabric, produced from the cocoons of silkworms native to China, became the symbol of luxury and the hallmark of long-distance trade between East and West. Yet the Silk Road was far more than a route for silk alone. It was a vast marketplace through which countless goods, ranging from everyday necessities to the most exotic and precious items, moved thousands of miles across continents. This dynamic flow of commodities fueled economies, shaped social status, and influenced cultural tastes across Eurasia and beyond. Silk itself was a technological marvel and a closely guarded secret in China for centuries. The ability to cultivate silkworms and spin their fine threads into fabric was considered a state monopoly, and the production process was jealously protected from foreign knowledge. The value of silk was not merely in its beauty, but also in its symbolic association with imperial power and cultural refinement. It was the fabric of choice for emperors, nobles, and dignitaries, highly prized in societies from Persia to Rome. Silk's importance to the Silk Road economy was profound. It was one of the primary goods that drove demand for trade with China, creating a flow of wealth and establishing commercial linkages that extended from the imperial courts of Chang'an to the Mediterranean ports. Archaeological finds of Chinese silk fragments in Roman tombs and Persian palaces attest to the widespread reach of this commodity. Yet silk was just one part of a vast array of goods that circulated along the Silk Road. The movement of commodities was multi-directional, reflecting the diversity of climates, cultures, and economies connected by the network. China exported not only silk, but also an array of other valuable products. Fine porcelain, renowned for its durability and delicate artistry, was a major export. The white and blue porcelain wares, crafted in kilns such as those in Jingdezhen, became prized possessions far from their place of origin. These ceramics, resistant to breakage and beautiful in design, were highly sought after in Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Chinese lacquerware, crafted with intricate designs and polished finishes, was another luxury good exported westward. Tea, which originated in China, was transported along the Silk Road in later periods and became an essential commodity, especially in Central Asia and beyond. The trade in tea exemplifies how the Silk Road facilitated the spread of cultural practices alongside physical goods. Technological innovations from China also traveled westward through the Silk Road. Paper, invented during the Han Dynasty, revolutionized communication, administration, and culture far beyond China's borders. By the 8th century CE, paper production techniques had reached Central Asia and the Islamic world, where paper-making industries flourished, eventually spreading to Europe and contributing to the later Renaissance and scientific revolutions. Gunpowder, another Chinese invention, found its way along the Silk Road and altered military technology worldwide. The transmission of such technologies demonstrates the Silk Road's role as a conduit for knowledge as well as goods. From West and Central Asia, merchants sent a rich variety of commodities eastward. Horses were among the most important. The nomadic peoples of the steppes prized sturdy and fast horses, and Chinese rulers were eager to acquire these animals to strengthen their cavalry. The famed heavenly horses from the Fergana Valley were highly prized by the Han Dynasty for their endurance and speed, prompting military expeditions to secure supplies. Precious metals, including gold and silver, were central to trade. These metals served both as currency and as raw materials for luxury items and religious artifacts. Silver coins minted in the Middle East and Central Asia facilitated trade by providing a stable medium of exchange across diverse regions. Textiles from the West, including woolen goods and finely woven carpets, were traded eastward. Persian and Central Asian artisans produced fabrics dyed with rich colors and intricate patterns, prized for their quality and artistry. Glassware, including delicate vessels and beads made in the workshops of the Middle East, traveled east and west, influencing local production techniques and tastes. Spices were among the most coveted goods moved along the Silk Road, connecting the tropical and subtropical regions of South Asia and Southeast Asia with the temperate zones of Central Asia and Europe. Black pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, and saffron were transported to satisfy the demands of wealthy consumers in China, Persia, and Europe. These spices not only enhanced cuisine, but also held medicinal and ritual significance. The trade in spices was not merely a matter of flavor. It was deeply entwined with social status, health beliefs, and religious practices. The high value of spices helped fund the caravans that braved difficult terrain and hostile regions. Beyond these luxury goods, the Silk Road also carried more utilitarian commodities that were crucial for sustaining life and facilitating trade. Salt, a vital preservative and dietary necessity, was traded extensively. Camel caravans often transported large quantities of salt, which was used to preserve meat and fish along the route and in distant markets. Exotic fruits, nuts, and medicinal herbs were transported in smaller quantities, enriching the diets and pharmacopoeias of Silk Road societies. The transmission of medicinal knowledge through these goods was an important aspect of the Silk Road's role in cultural exchange. Livestock and agricultural products also moved along the routes. Crops such as wheat, barley, and millet were traded, but more importantly, the Silk Road facilitated the transfer of plants and animals between regions, a process known as the Columbian Exchange of the Old World. For example, grapes and pomegranates traveled from the Middle East to China, while mulberry trees essential for silkworm cultivation spread westward. The transfer of crops and livestock had long-lasting impacts on agricultural practices and diets, contributing to the diversification of food production and culinary traditions across Eurasia. Another significant category of goods traded were artistic and religious objects. Sculptures, paintings, manuscripts, and religious icons were carried along the routes, reflecting the Silk Road's role in the diffusion of cultural and spiritual traditions. Buddhist statues from India and Central Asia found their way to China, while Christian relics and Nestorian manuscripts traveled eastward. The flow of ideas was intertwined with the movement of these objects, facilitating the spread of philosophies, religious doctrines, and artistic styles that transformed societies. Trade along the Silk Road was not limited to physical goods. It also included the movement of people, merchants, pilgrims, artisans, diplomats, and even slaves. The human dimension of Silk Road commerce was as important as the commodities themselves, shaping social structures and cultural landscapes. Merchants were often members of organized caravans, which pooled resources to protect against bandits and manage logistics. The caravan was a microcosm of the Silk Road's multiculturalism, bringing together individuals from various ethnic and linguistic backgrounds, each contributing their skills and knowledge. The Sogdians, an Iranian-speaking people from Central Asia, played a crucial role in managing and facilitating trade. Their merchant networks extended across the Silk Road, and their language served as a lingua franca for commerce. They established communities in key cities where they engaged in trade, banking, and cultural exchange. Financial innovations developed to support Silk Road trade were also vital. The use of letters of credit, promissory notes, and bills of exchange allowed merchants to conduct transactions without carrying large sums of coin, reducing risk. Banking houses and money changers operated in major cities, facilitating currency exchange and credit. The Silk Road's goods and commodities reflected the interconnectedness of the ancient world, demonstrating how trade linked economies and cultures across continents. The flow of luxury items, staples, and ideas created a vibrant exchange that shaped the material and intellectual life of Eurasia. Through these commodities, the Silk Road became a channel for cultural diffusion, technological transfer, and economic integration that defined the history of the region for centuries. The Silk Road was not simply a network of routes or a channel for goods. It was first and foremost a human enterprise. At its heart were the countless individuals who braved vast distances, harsh landscapes, political uncertainties, and cultural divides to facilitate exchange. The story of the Silk Road is a story of the people, merchants, nomads, diplomats, artisans, pilgrims, soldiers, and settlers, whose lives intertwined in a web of commerce, culture, and diplomacy, stretching from the imperial courts of China to the Mediterranean shores. The diversity of peoples involved in the Silk Road's operation is staggering. Across the 1,000-year span of the network, hundreds of ethnic groups, languages, and cultures contributed to its vitality. From the nomadic tribes of the Central Asian steppes to the urban merchants of Persian and Chinese cities. From Arab traders crossing deserts to Indian pilgrims visiting sacred sites. The Silk Road was a melting pot of human activity. At the eastern end of the network, the Han Dynasty's capital Chang'an was a cosmopolitan metropolis. It attracted not only Chinese officials, artisans, and scholars, but also envoys and merchants from Central Asia, India, and beyond. The city bustled with marketplaces where traders displayed goods from distant lands and where translators, money changers, and diplomats navigated the complexities of intercultural communication. The Chinese imperial authorities exercised control over the eastern Silk Road routes. They regulated trade through licenses and permits, ensuring security and taxation. Official caravans often traveled under government auspices, reflecting the state's interest in controlling valuable goods and diplomatic contacts. Chinese merchants and artisans were active participants, producing luxury goods such as silk and porcelain that fueled demand along the routes. Moving westward, the Central Asian steppes were dominated by nomadic tribes whose way of life was intricately linked to the Silk Road. The vast grasslands were home to groups such as the Xiongnu, Scythians, Turkic peoples, and later, the Mongols. These nomads were skilled horsemen and warriors, able to control large territories through mobility and military prowess. They both facilitated and threatened Silk Road trade, sometimes acting as intermediaries and protectors, at other times as raiders. The nomadic lifestyle was centered on herding livestock, horses, sheep, camels, and seasonal migrations. Their economies relied on animal products such as wool, hides, and meat, which they traded for agricultural products and luxury goods from settled societies. The nomads' intimate knowledge of the land and mobility made them indispensable as guides and protectors of caravans crossing their territory. One of the most influential nomadic groups in Silk Road history were the Sogdians, whose role transcended simple trade. Originating from the region around Samarkand and Bukhara in present-day Uzbekistan, the Sogdians were Iranian-speaking people who rose to prominence between the 4th and 10th centuries CE as master merchants, diplomats, and cultural intermediaries. Their extensive trade networks extended from China to the Byzantine Empire, and their language became the commercial lingua franca along the routes. Sogdian merchants established diaspora communities in key cities across Eurasia, including Chang'an, Merv, and Constantinople. They were not only traders, but also cultural brokers, transmitting religious ideas, artistic styles, and linguistic influences. Many Sogdians were followers of Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, or Nestorian Christianity, reflecting the religious diversity of the Silk Road. Their skill in navigating multiple cultures, languages, and legal systems made the Sogdians essential facilitators of Silk Road commerce. They negotiated with local rulers, managed caravan logistics, and often served as interpreters. Their legacy can be traced in the art and manuscripts discovered along Silk Road sites, which reveal a fusion of Eastern and Western motifs. The Persian empires, including the Parthians and Sassanians, controlled large swaths of the Western Silk Road. Persian merchants were active participants in trade, known for their fine textiles, metalwork, and glassware. Persian cities such as Ctesiphon and Nishapur were hubs of commerce and culture. Persian language and culture influenced many regions along the Silk Road, contributing to the development of Islamic civilization in later centuries. In the Indian subcontinent, traders and pilgrims used southern branches of the Silk Road to reach Central Asia and China. India was a source of precious stones, spices, textiles, and knowledge, particularly Buddhist teachings that traveled eastward. Indian merchants established trading communities in Central Asia and Southeast Asia, linking the Indian Ocean maritime network with overland routes. Arab traders and adventurers were crucial in expanding and sustaining the Silk Road from the early Islamic period onward. Arabs controlled key portions of the route through the Arabian Peninsula and the Persian Gulf, connecting maritime and overland trade networks. Cities such as Baghdad became intellectual and commercial centers where goods and ideas from across Eurasia converged. The spread of Islam along the Silk Road was closely tied to Arab merchants and missionaries who established mosques and madrasas in Central Asian cities. The Arabic language became another lingua franca of trade and scholarship, complementing Persian and Sogdian. The Byzantine Empire, centered in Constantinople, was a western terminus of the Silk Road and a gateway to Europe. Byzantine merchants imported silk, spices, and precious stones from the east and exported manufactured goods such as glass and metalwork. The empire's control of key land and sea routes allowed it to play a strategic role in Silk Road commerce. Beyond merchants, the Silk Road was traversed by pilgrims, missionaries, and diplomats, each contributing to cultural and religious exchange. Buddhist monks journeyed from India and Central Asia to spread their faith in China and beyond. Nestorian Christians, Manichaeans, and later Muslims traveled the routes to establish communities and share religious texts. Diplomatic envoys from various empires used the Silk Road to establish alliances, negotiate treaties, and exchange gifts. These missions were often grand affairs, involving large retinues and valuable goods, symbolizing political power and cultural sophistication. The social dynamics of Silk Road cities reflected their role as cosmopolitan crossroads. Markets were vibrant places where merchants from diverse backgrounds negotiated in multiple languages, religions coexisted, and cultural practices blended. Art, music, and cuisine reflected the fusion of influences brought by travelers. Women also played roles in Silk Road societies, though often less documented. In some regions, women were involved in textile production, market activities, and religious institutions. Silk itself, tied to the labor of silkworm cultivation, was connected to women's work in many societies. Slavery was another aspect of Silk Road societies, with slaves being traded and used for labor across the regions connected by the routes. The complexities of slavery varied by culture and period, but were part of the economic and social fabric of the Silk Road world. The movement of peoples along the Silk Road was not always peaceful. Conflicts, raids, and wars disrupted trade at times, necessitating military escorts for caravans and the construction of fortifications. The balance between cooperation and conflict shaped the experiences of those who traveled. The Mongol Empire, which unified much of Eurasia in the 13th century, had a transformative impact on the people of the Silk Road. Under Mongol rule, the routes were secured and stabilized, encouraging unprecedented volumes of trade and cultural exchange. The Pax Mongolica fostered a period of relative peace and prosperity, drawing merchants, artisans, and scholars from diverse backgrounds to the Silk Road. Mongol policies supported religious tolerance and cultural diversity, allowing multiple faiths to coexist and flourish. The empire's vast territories connected the Silk Road's disparate regions under a single political framework, simplifying travel and commerce. However, the Mongol period also saw the spread of devastating diseases, most notably the Black Death, which traveled along Silk Road routes and had catastrophic demographic and social consequences. The people of the Silk Road, through their resilience, adaptability, and intercultural engagement, wove together a complex human network that transcended political boundaries and cultural differences. Their interactions created a world of shared knowledge, commerce, and spirituality that shaped the history of Eurasia for centuries. The sprawling expanse of the Silk Road network required sophisticated systems of transport, logistics, and finance to sustain the flow of goods, people, and ideas across vast and often hostile terrains. The success of this ancient trade network depended not only on the will and courage of those who traveled it, but also on the mechanics that enabled caravans to function efficiently, survive environmental challenges, and overcome the logistical obstacles of distance, climate, and political borders. The Silk Road was a feat of human ingenuity, involving the careful orchestration of animals, routes, infrastructure, and financial instruments that together created a functioning economic system. At the heart of Silk Road transport were the caravans, groups of merchants, their goods, pack animals, and sometimes guards, traveling together for mutual protection and efficiency. Traveling alone in the often dangerous and remote stretches of the route was impractical and perilous. Bandits, hostile tribes, harsh climates, and logistical difficulties made solitary journeys risky. Caravans, therefore, represented not only an economic unit, but a social and security mechanism where collaboration and mutual support increased chances of survival and success. The composition of a caravan varied according to the nature of the goods transported, the route taken, and the season. Some caravans consisted of small groups of a few traders, while others were large, organized expeditions with hundreds of camels, horses, donkeys, and mules. The choice of animals was crucial and dictated by geography, climate, and cargo. Among these, the camel was the undisputed champion of Silk Road transport. The two primary species of camels used along the Silk Road were the Bactrian camel and the dromedary. The Bactrian camel, native to Central Asia, is a two-humped animal well adapted to cold, mountainous regions and capable of carrying heavy loads over rugged terrain. The dromedary, or one-humped camel, thrived in the warmer desert regions of the Middle East and North Africa. Camels were invaluable for their ability to endure long journeys without water, carry heavy burdens, and withstand extreme temperatures, from freezing nights to scorching days. Camels' physiological adaptations allowed caravans to cross vast deserts, such as the Taklamakan and Gobi, where water sources were scarce and conditions brutal. Their ability to consume thorny desert vegetation and store fat in their humps as an energy reserve made them uniquely suited to Silk Road logistics. The image of camel caravans winding through desert dunes became emblematic of the Silk Road's endurance and reach. Caravan leaders, known as emirs or caravan masters, were responsible for organizing the logistics of the journey. They determined the size and composition of the caravan, planned the route, negotiated with local authorities, and managed the finances. Their leadership was vital in maintaining order, ensuring supplies, and coordinating rest stops and security arrangements. Experience and knowledge of the terrain, political conditions, and weather patterns were indispensable assets. Security was a paramount concern. The Silk Road traversed regions where banditry and warfare could interrupt trade. Caravans often hired armed guards or allied with local powers to ensure safe passage. Fortified caravanserai, roadside inns that dotted the routes, provided refuge and protection, serving as gathering points where caravans could rest, repair equipment, and exchange information. The caravanserai were architectural and social institutions critical to the Silk Road's function. These structures were typically built near water sources at strategic intervals along the routes, spaced according to the distance a caravan could travel in a day, generally around 20 to 30 miles. Caravanserai provided secure lodging for merchants and animals, storage facilities for goods, and marketplaces for buying and selling. They often housed artisans and craftsmen who repaired equipment, produced goods, or provided services to travelers. The maintenance of such infrastructure required cooperation between local rulers, merchants, and sometimes imperial authorities. Caravanserai facilitated the regulation of trade, collection of taxes, and dissemination of information. They also played a role in cultural exchange, hosting diverse groups who shared stories, news, and ideas, thus functioning as hubs of communication beyond their practical purposes. Transportation along the Silk Road also involved the use of horses and donkeys, particularly in mountainous regions where camels were less effective. Horses were prized for their speed and agility and were often used to carry precious goods, dispatch messages, or scout ahead. Donkeys, though slower and less glamorous, were reliable pack animals used for shorter distances and rougher terrains. The planning of caravan journeys was deeply connected to seasonal cycles and climate. Harsh winters, spring floods, and summer heat influenced the timing and routes of travel. For example, many caravans departed in the spring to take advantage of milder weather, avoiding the perils of winter snow in mountain passes or summer heat in deserts. Beyond the physical movement of goods, the Silk Road's operation depended heavily on financial mechanisms that allowed trade to flourish over thousands of miles. The vast distances and long durations of journeys made it impractical and dangerous for merchants to carry large amounts of coin. To mitigate this risk and facilitate transactions, innovative financial instruments and credit systems were developed. One of the earliest and most important financial tools was the use of promissory notes or bills of exchange. Merchants could deposit goods or coin with trusted agents or banks in one city and receive a written document promising payment or credit at another city along the route. This system allowed traders to avoid carrying bulky or risky currency across dangerous terrain. Money changers and banking houses operated in major Silk Road cities, providing currency exchange services, loans, and credit to merchants. Because the Silk Road spanned many different political entities, each with its own currencies and monetary policies, the ability to convert currencies was essential. The Sogdians, known for their mercantile expertise, often acted as financiers and brokers, facilitating transactions and extending credit. The use of letters of credit also encouraged the growth of merchant caravans. With financial backing, merchants could invest in larger quantities of goods and organize more extensive expeditions. This not only increased profits, but also contributed to the reliability and safety of trade, as larger caravans were better protected. In addition to formal financial instruments, informal networks of trust and kinship were crucial. Merchants often relied on family ties, ethnic connections, or shared religious affiliations to establish creditworthiness and reduce risk. These social networks functioned as early versions of business partnerships and insurance, reinforcing the stability of long-distance trade. The organization of trade along the Silk Road also depended on the development of roads, bridges, and way stations constructed by imperial and local authorities. The Han dynasty's investment in road building and frontier outposts was a foundational step in the network's formation. Later empires, including the Tang, Abbasid, and Mongol dynasties, maintained and expanded this infrastructure to facilitate commerce. Political arrangements between states were also vital in securing trade routes. Diplomatic agreements, tributary relationships, and alliances ensured the relative safety of caravans passing through multiple jurisdictions. This political cooperation was not always stable. Shifts in power could close routes, force detours, or trigger violence, demonstrating the fragile balance sustaining Silk Road commerce. The Silk Road's logistics and financial innovations were not static. They evolved in response to changing conditions. The rise of the Mongol Empire, for example, brought unprecedented stability and standardization to the routes. The Mongols established a system of relay stations with fresh horses, postal couriers, and passports that accelerated communication and protected merchants. However, the decline of the Silk Road in later centuries was partly due to the limits of overland transportation. The long, arduous journeys could not compete with the efficiency and scale of emerging maritime trade routes. Sea routes in the Indian Ocean offered faster, safer, and more cost-effective means of transporting bulk goods, leading to a gradual shift away from the overland Silk Road. Nevertheless, the mechanics of movement that underpinned the Silk Road stand as a testament to the resourcefulness and adaptability of its participants. The caravan system, the use of camels and other animals, the network of caravanserai, and the development of credit and financial instruments collectively created an economic and social infrastructure that allowed goods, ideas, and cultures to flow across vast distances. The Silk Road was thus more than a trade route. It was a complex system of human and animal labor, technological ingenuity, and economic innovation. Its success depended on the collaboration of diverse peoples and institutions, all engaged in the delicate task of sustaining a web of connections across deserts, mountains, and empires. The Silk Road was far more than a conduit for commercial goods. It was an unparalleled artery of cultural and religious exchange that connected diverse civilizations across Eurasia. The flow of ideas, beliefs, artistic styles, and philosophies along its routes fundamentally reshaped societies on multiple continents. Over centuries, the Silk Road became a living conduit through which spiritual doctrines traveled, artistic influences blended, and intellectual innovations were shared, making it one of history's greatest bridges between civilizations. At the heart of the Silk Road's cultural significance was the transmission of religious traditions. Religions, unlike physical goods, could spread through the movement of missionaries, pilgrims, scholars, and texts, traveling alongside merchants and envoys. This spiritual diffusion transformed the religious landscape of Asia and beyond, shaping the identities and worldviews of countless peoples. One of the most profound religious movements associated with the Silk Road was the spread of Buddhism from India to Central Asia, China, and eventually East Asia. Buddhism, founded in the Indian subcontinent in the 5th century BCE, emphasized spiritual liberation, compassion, and meditation. It entered the Silk Road network as Indian monks and pilgrims journeyed to spread the teachings and establish monasteries along the route. Buddhist missionaries adapted their teachings to local cultures, often translating scriptures into various languages including Sanskrit, Chinese, Sogdian, and Tibetan. Along the way, they interacted with diverse populations, absorbing and blending local customs, artistic motifs, and philosophical ideas. This intercultural dialogue produced unique forms of Buddhist art and thought that reflected a synthesis of Indian, Central Asian, and Chinese influences. The Buddhist cave complexes at Dunhuang in present-day China stand as enduring testaments to this vibrant cultural exchange. Over a millennium, monks decorated hundreds of grottos with murals, sculptures, and manuscripts, creating a repository of religious art and knowledge that reflects the Silk Road's role as a spiritual crossroads. Dunhuang served as a rest stop for travelers and a center for translating Buddhist texts, facilitating the religion's eastward expansion. Alongside Buddhism, other religious traditions traversed the Silk Road, contributing to the region's rich spiritual mosaic. Nestorian Christianity, an early branch of Christianity that emphasized the humanity of Jesus Christ, spread eastward from the Middle East. Nestorian missionaries and merchants established churches and communities in Central Asia and China, where their presence is documented in archaeological remains and inscriptions. Manichaeism, a syncretic religion founded in Persia in the 3rd century CE, combined elements of Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and Buddhism. It spread along the Silk Road, attracting followers who appreciated its dualistic worldview of light and darkness, good and evil. Though later suppressed, Manichaeism's influence persisted in art and thought across Central Asia. Islam emerged in the 7th century CE and quickly became a dominant religious and cultural force along the Western Silk Road. Muslim traders and missionaries extended their reach into Central Asia, Persia and China. The spread of Islam was accompanied by the construction of mosques, madrasas, and caravanserai, which served as centers of religious practice, education, and commerce. Islamic scholars preserved and translated Greek philosophical and scientific texts, which circulated widely along the Silk Road. This intellectual exchange enriched Islamic civilization and later influenced European thought during the Renaissance. The fusion of Islamic art, science, and culture with Central Asian and Chinese elements created vibrant centers of learning such as Samarkand and Bukhara. Zoroastrianism, the ancient religion of Persia, also left its mark on Silk Road cultures. Though its followers declined over time, Zoroastrian concepts and symbols influenced art, literature, and religious practices in regions along the route. The Silk Road was thus a corridor of religious pluralism and dialogue, where diverse faiths coexisted, competed, and interacted. This religious diversity was not without tensions, but it also fostered environments of tolerance, adaptation, and syncretism that enriched cultural life. Beyond religion, the Silk Road was a vehicle for the transmission of artistic styles and cultural motifs. The intermingling of East Asian, Central Asian, Persian, Indian, and Mediterranean artistic traditions produced distinctive hybrid forms that defy simple categorization. For example, Silk Road art often incorporated elements of Greco-Roman realism and naturalism, Indian religious iconography, and Chinese brushwork techniques. This fusion is evident in sculptures found in sites such as Bamiyan in Afghanistan, where monumental Buddha statues displayed Hellenistic artistic influences. The spread of artistic techniques and iconographies was facilitated by the movement of artisans and the exchange of luxury goods bearing intricate decorations. Textiles, ceramics, metalwork, and jewelry produced along the Silk Road reflected the tastes and technologies of multiple cultures. Persian carpets, Chinese silk brocades, Indian cotton prints, and Central Asian felt-making traditions were traded and adapted, influencing fashion and craftsmanship across Eurasia. The Silk Road also served as a conduit for scientific knowledge and technological innovation. Mathematical concepts, astronomical observations, medical practices, and agricultural techniques traveled between civilizations, advancing human understanding and practical skills. For instance, paper-making technology, invented in China during the Han Dynasty, spread westward through Central Asia to the Islamic world and eventually Europe. This revolutionized the production of books and documents, facilitating the preservation and dissemination of knowledge. Similarly, the introduction of printing techniques, compass technology, and gunpowder from China had profound impacts on warfare, navigation, and communication in regions far from their origin. The Silk Road also enabled the exchange of languages and writing systems. Sogdian, Persian, Chinese, and Arabic languages intersected in commercial and cultural settings. Bilingual and multilingual inscriptions found along the route testify to the linguistic diversity and communication strategies used by traders and officials. This linguistic interchange facilitated the translation of religious texts, legal codes, scientific treatises, and literary works, creating a rich corpus of intercultural literature. The movement of scholars and scribes across borders helped preserve and transmit knowledge through turbulent historical periods. Cultural exchange along the Silk Road extended to culinary traditions, music, and performance arts. Ingredients such as spices, fruits, and grains were introduced to new regions, transforming diets and cooking styles. Musical instruments and performance techniques traveled with traveling entertainers and royal courts, influencing local cultures. The Silk Road was thus a vast cultural melting pot, where ideas and customs were continually adapted and reinvented. The people who traveled its routes were not passive recipients, but active participants in creating new cultural syntheses that shaped the identities of their societies. This dynamic exchange was also reflected in the rise of cosmopolitan cities along the Silk Road. Urban centers such as Samarkand, Kashgar, Merv, and Chang'an were vibrant hubs where merchants, scholars, artisans, and religious figures from diverse backgrounds coexisted. These cities featured multi-ethnic neighborhoods, varied religious institutions, and bustling marketplaces, epitomizing the Silk Road's role as a meeting place of civilizations. Artisans and craftsmen in these cities produced goods that combined styles and techniques from multiple traditions, catering to a diverse clientele. Religious festivals, public performances, and intellectual gatherings reflected the pluralism of Silk Road societies. The cultural and religious exchanges of the Silk Road profoundly shaped the development of civilizations across Eurasia. They facilitated the spread of spiritual traditions, artistic innovations, scientific knowledge, and linguistic diversity. This interconnectedness helped lay the foundations for the modern globalized world. However, these exchanges were also subject to the limitations and tensions inherent in contact between different peoples. Conflicts, misunderstandings, and cultural resistance were part of the process. But over time, the Silk Road's capacity for fostering dialogue and adaptation proved enduring. The legacy of the Silk Road as a bridge of civilizations continues to inspire contemporary efforts to understand and celebrate cultural diversity and exchange. Its history reminds us that the movement of people and ideas across boundaries can create lasting connections that transcend distance and difference. The Silk Road, for all its grandeur and significance as a vast intercontinental trade network, was never without formidable challenges. The obstacles faced by merchants, travelers, and empires spanned the environmental, political, social, and economic realms. These difficulties shaped the operation of the Silk Road throughout its history and ultimately contributed to its decline as maritime routes rose to prominence. Understanding these challenges provides crucial insight into the limitations of overland trade and the dynamic nature of historical commerce. One of the most persistent and daunting challenges was the harsh geography through which the Silk Road traversed. The network crossed some of the world's most inhospitable regions: deserts, mountains, steppes, and vast semi-arid plains. The Taklamakan Desert, known as the Sea of Death, epitomized the perilous conditions that traders faced. Its shifting sand dunes, extreme temperature variations, and scarcity of water sources created a nearly impassable barrier that forced caravans to travel along its edges, significantly lengthening journeys and exposing travelers to risks. Similarly, the towering mountain ranges of Central Asia, including the Tian Shan, Pamirs, and Hindu Kush, posed severe obstacles. Narrow, steep passes were often subject to avalanches, landslides, and freezing conditions. Seasonal weather patterns meant that certain routes were impassable for months due to snow or flooding. Travelers had to carefully plan their journeys around these seasonal constraints, balancing the urgency of commerce with the necessity of survival. The physical challenges of geography were compounded by the scarcity of resources essential to long-distance trade. Water, food, and fodder for pack animals were constantly in limited supply, especially in desert and mountainous regions. Caravanserai and oasis towns provided critical relief points, but their distribution was uneven, and their maintenance depended on the stability and cooperation of local authorities. Environmental unpredictability also contributed to the hazards. Droughts could dry up wells and pasture lands, making it impossible to sustain animals or replenish supplies. Sandstorms could strip away equipment and cause disorientation. These natural challenges were a constant threat to the economic viability of trade and the safety of those involved. Political challenges were equally significant. The Silk Road spanned multiple empires, kingdoms, and tribal territories, each with its own laws, taxes, and levels of security. While some empires invested in infrastructure and law enforcement to promote trade, others were fragmented, hostile, or unstable, making travel perilous. Border controls, tolls, and customs duties varied widely. Merchants often had to navigate complex and shifting regulations, sometimes facing extortion or confiscation of goods. Diplomatic tensions could close routes or lead to military conflicts that disrupted commerce. Banditry and raids were recurring dangers along the Silk Road. Wealthy caravans carrying precious goods were tempting targets for nomadic raiders and local warlords. To mitigate these risks, caravans traveled in large groups, hired armed escorts, or sought protection from powerful regional rulers. Despite these measures, attacks could result in significant loss of life and cargo. The political fragmentation of Central Asia, in particular, posed difficulties. The region was often divided among competing khanates, tribes, and city-states, each asserting control over portions of the routes. Maintaining stable trade corridors required diplomatic skill and sometimes military intervention. Language and cultural differences also presented challenges. Merchants and travelers had to communicate across linguistic divides, requiring interpreters and lingua francas such as Sogdian, Persian, and later Arabic. Misunderstandings could lead to conflicts or lost opportunities. Legal systems and customs varied, complicating negotiations and contract enforcement. Visa-like permits and trade licenses were sometimes required by local authorities to regulate and tax merchants. Obtaining these documents involved bureaucratic procedures that could delay travel or impose additional costs. Despite these obstacles, the Silk Road thrived for centuries, adapting to changing political and economic circumstances. However, the cumulative effects of these challenges, combined with transformative shifts in global trade, contributed to its gradual decline. One of the most significant factors in the Silk Road's decline was the rise of maritime trade routes that offered alternatives to the long, arduous overland journeys. The Indian Ocean trade network expanded dramatically from the late first millennium CE onward, fueled by advances in navigation, shipbuilding, and the understanding of monsoon wind patterns. Sea routes allowed the transport of larger volumes of goods at lower costs and with fewer risks compared to overland caravans. Ships could carry bulky commodities such as spices, timber, and textiles more efficiently than camels or horses. The growth of port cities in India, Arabia, East Africa, and Southeast Asia created vibrant hubs that connected producers and consumers across the Indian Ocean basin. Chinese maritime activity, particularly during the Ming Dynasty's treasure voyages under Admiral Zheng He in the early 15th century, demonstrated the increasing importance of sea power. These expeditions projected Chinese influence across Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Eastern African coast, facilitating diplomatic and commercial ties. The development of European maritime exploration and colonial expansion in the late 15th and early 16th centuries further accelerated the shift away from the Silk Road. The Portuguese circumnavigation of Africa opened direct sea routes to India and Asia, reducing dependence on traditional overland routes controlled by Muslim and Central Asian powers. The political fragmentation and instability of key Silk Road regions in the late medieval period also contributed to its decline. The collapse of the Mongol Empire fractured the unified control that had secured trade routes. Increased warfare, shifting alliances, and the rise of regional powers disrupted the stability necessary for safe and efficient commerce. In addition, the spread of diseases such as the Black Death, which traveled along Silk Road routes in the 14th century, had devastating demographic and economic effects. The pandemic disrupted trade networks, depopulated key urban centers, and caused social upheaval. The cumulative impact of these factors led to a gradual but irreversible decline of the Silk Road's importance. While overland trade did not disappear entirely, it became secondary to maritime commerce, which dominated global trade networks for centuries to come. Nevertheless, the legacy of the Silk Road persisted. Even as the physical routes lost prominence, the cultural, religious, and technological exchanges it had fostered continued to influence societies across Eurasia. The cities that had flourished as Silk Road hubs adapted to new economic realities, and the memories of the routes lived on in historical records, art, and collective consciousness. In modern times, renewed interest in the Silk Road has emerged in the form of cultural heritage projects, academic research, and geopolitical initiatives seeking to revive transcontinental connectivity. While contemporary transportation and technology have transformed global trade, the spirit of the Silk Road as a bridge between civilizations endures. The challenges and decline of the Silk Road remind us that economic networks are dynamic and subject to a complex interplay of natural, political, and technological forces. The rise and fall of the Silk Road encapsulate the ebb and flow of history, illustrating how human societies adapt to changing circumstances and forge new pathways in pursuit of commerce, culture, and connection. The Silk Road's significance extends far beyond its centuries of active use as a trade network. Its legacy continues to shape the cultural, economic, and geopolitical landscapes of Eurasia and the wider world. From the diffusion of religions and technologies to the rise of interconnected economies and cosmopolitan societies, the Silk Road stands as one of history's most influential networks. In the modern era, this legacy informs both scholarly understanding and contemporary initiatives aimed at rekindling transcontinental links in a new global context. The Silk Road fundamentally transformed the societies it connected by fostering cultural diffusion on an unprecedented scale. Through the exchange of goods and ideas, it helped integrate diverse peoples into a shared economic and intellectual world. The spread of religions such as Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and others along the routes altered spiritual landscapes and contributed to the rich religious pluralism seen in many Eurasian societies today. Artistic and architectural traditions disseminated via the Silk Road continue to inspire cultural expressions. The blending of styles seen in ancient Silk Road cities laid foundations for enduring regional aesthetics. For example, Central Asian cities like Samarkand and Bukhara showcase architectural features blending Persian, Turkic, and Islamic influences, which remain central to their identities. Technological and scientific knowledge transferred along the Silk Road helped spark innovations that shaped global history. The transmission of papermaking, printing, compass navigation, and gunpowder from China to the West are prime examples of this profound influence. These technologies underpinned the rise of later empires and contributed to the development of the modern world. The economic impact of the Silk Road also reverberates through history. It helped stimulate the growth of cities, trade hubs, and specialized industries along its routes. Urban centers flourished, serving as nodes of commerce, finance, and cultural exchange. This growth laid early groundwork for globalization, demonstrating how trade networks can spur economic integration across regions. In many respects, the Silk Road functioned as an early model of globalization, connecting distant markets and fostering interdependence among diverse economies. The mechanisms of trade, credit, and diplomacy developed on the Silk Road anticipate features of contemporary global commerce. The routes and cities of the Silk Road became melting pots of language, cuisine, customs, and traditions, influencing national and ethnic identities that persist today. The movement of peoples and ideas created hybrid cultures that defy simple categorization, reflecting complex histories of contact and exchange. In the modern era, the Silk Road has captured the imagination of historians, archaeologists, artists, and policymakers. It has become a symbol of intercultural dialogue and connectivity, inspiring efforts to revive and reinterpret its roots in contemporary contexts. One of the most visible modern manifestations is China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, launched in the 21st century. This ambitious infrastructure and economic development project seeks to rebuild and expand connectivity across Eurasia, echoing the Silk Road's historical function. Through investments in railways, highways, ports, and energy projects, the BRI aims to facilitate trade and cultural exchange on a scale reminiscent of ancient networks. The BRI and similar initiatives reflect the enduring strategic importance of linking East and West, demonstrating how historical precedents continue to shape geopolitical visions. These projects underscore the lasting value placed on transcontinental connectivity and the potential economic benefits of regional integration. In addition to large-scale infrastructure, tourism centered on Silk Road heritage has flourished. Archaeological sites, ancient cities, and cultural landmarks attract visitors eager to experience the tangible remnants of this historic network. Museums, exhibitions, and cultural festivals celebrate Silk Road history and its role in shaping world civilizations. Scholars continue to uncover new evidence and reinterpret existing knowledge about the Silk Road, deepening understanding of its complexity and scope. Advances in technology, such as satellite imagery, digital mapping, and genetic studies, have opened new avenues for research, revealing ancient trade routes, population movements, and cultural interactions with greater precision. The Silk Road's legacy also serves as a reminder of the challenges and possibilities inherent in intercultural contact. The history of cooperation and conflict along the routes offers lessons on the importance of tolerance, adaptation, and mutual respect in diverse societies. It highlights the potential for trade and exchange to foster peace and prosperity, as well as the risks posed by division and instability. In a world increasingly defined by global interconnection, the Silk Road story resonates with contemporary themes. It embodies the human drive to explore, connect, and share knowledge across boundaries. The enduring impact of this ancient network is a testament to the power of cultural and economic exchange to shape civilizations across time. Modern travel along the historic Silk Road routes is now facilitated by advanced infrastructure and transportation technologies. High-speed railways, highways, and air travel have dramatically reduced the time and risk of journeying across continents. Travelers can move from China to Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe in days rather than months, connecting cities once linked only by slow camel caravans. Cultural exchange continues through educational programs, business ventures, and diplomatic initiatives that build on the Silk Road's heritage. Academic partnerships, language studies, and cultural exchanges foster deeper understanding among peoples whose ancestors were connected by these ancient routes. Yet, despite modernization, the challenges that once shaped Silk Road travel, geographical barriers, political complexities, and cultural diversity, remain relevant. Contemporary policymakers and travelers must navigate these enduring realities, balancing development with the preservation of cultural heritage and ecological sustainability. The Silk Road's legacy invites reflection on the nature of connectivity and the responsibilities it entails. It challenges societies to consider how networks of trade and communication can be managed to promote equitable development, cultural respect, and environmental stewardship. In conclusion, the Silk Road's impact transcends its historical moment. It stands as a foundational chapter in the story of human civilization, demonstrating how the movement of goods, people, and ideas can weave together disparate cultures into a shared tapestry. Its enduring influence is visible in the continued cultural vibrancy, economic interdependence, and geopolitical ambitions of Eurasia. As modern societies look to the future, the Silk Road offers both inspiration and cautionary lessons. Its history encourages a vision of global connection that values diversity, cooperation, and innovation, while acknowledging the complexities inherent in bridging vast distances and cultures. The Silk Road remains a powerful symbol of humanity's enduring quest to explore, exchange, and understand. A legacy that continues to shape the world today. If you found this deep dive into the Silk Road fascinating and want to explore more incredible stories of history, culture, and innovation, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Remember to like this video and share it with friends who love learning about the past and its impact on our world today. Leave your thoughts and questions in the comments below. What part of the Silk Road intrigued you the most?